Religious duty and a rite of passage during one's lifetime. But there are now fears climate change could make the trip impossible for future generations because of rising temperatures in Western Saudi Arabia. British Muslims are now being urged to take the lead on fighting climate change. Joining me now is Mariah Zafar from Islamic Relief. Welcome to you. Good morning. First of all, describe to us what a pilgrimage to Hajj is like.
Absolutely. So every year, millions of Muslims travel to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, and they fulfill one of the major pillars of Islam, which is Hajj. And Hajj involves elements which are outdoors, such as praying outdoors and walking for sort of short to medium to long distances as part of the pilgrimage. So it's all about spirituality alongside you need to be physically fit to actually do Hajj.
Yes, it is already an arduous journey in very extreme temperatures, but now there's a more stark warning.
Yes, absolutely. So research from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology has found that with climate change and the rising temperatures, what we're seeing is that Hajj itself will become hazardous to humans because it sort of passes the extreme danger threshold. So things like heat stroke and sort of people becoming more tired and the difficulty is increasing there. Essentially the actual pilgrimage itself will become extremely difficult, and especially for the elderly and people that are less physically fit.
So what are you calling on British Muslims to do, in effect?
Essentially, we're calling on the Muslim community to take the lead on climate change. We want them to approach their MP and advance the target, or the net zero target, from 2050 to 2045. We really want the Muslim community to sort of wake up to the reality of climate change and sort of recognize that climate change will affect all aspects of human life. And that also is in reflecting on our faith, where climate change will affect the way we practice our faith. And what we want them to do is to recognize that if we want to preserve the pilgrimage, which has been a fundamental part of a religion, we need to take a bit more proactive approach and sort of address this with the government and our local MP and right.
What are your ultimate fears? I mean, do you actually believe that there will come a time where Muslims will not be able to perform Hajj because of the conditions?
Absolutely. I think with climate change, what we're seeing already is the effect that climate change is having on many people across the world. If you look at the Amazon at the moment, you look at one thing about us is that we work in 40 countries across the globe, and we see the first-hand impact of climate change. And it would be almost silly not to sort of assume with the scientific knowledge and research that it won't affect human activity. And as the pilgrimage is one of the more proactive and physically fitting activities, it's almost inevitable that climate change will have an effect on that pilgrimage. And essentially, I believe that's what we're seeing if we do not take more action.
As we've said, it is quite a hazardous journey to make. People lose their lives performing Hajj. Is there anything that pilgrims can do now before anything is actioned in terms of climate change? What can people do now?
Absolutely. I think what we need to recognize is that we live in a global world. And if there's one thing that unites us, it's the fact that, climate change is happening and we all have a part to play. What we're asking for people is to remember that everybody can do something about the climate, whether that is eating less meat, whether that is walking to work, and all these things. It can be at your level, at your pace, but just at least doing something to recognize that climate change is happening. And it could be as simple as having a discussion with your faith leaders, having a discussion, with your neighbor. It's all about sort of raising awareness, and we're seeing some fantastic work happening around that already.
Mariah Zafar from Islamic Relief, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.